Welcome back to DK Sports Radio. You're listening to the Carter Six Pack. I'm Chris Carter, NFL analyst, and in the Carter Six Pack, as you know, loyal listeners, we talk about the top six of a given topic. Today's topic, we're looking forward, not looking back like we usually do. We're talking about the top six inside linebacker prospects for the Steelers to draft in this upcoming NFL draft. Now, that being said, we're going to exclude the top two guys in Tremaine Edmunds and Roquan Smith that we know are going to get picked within the top 15 picks of this draft. These guys are super athletes. Roquan Smith out of Georgia, he was their defensive captain, led them to the NCAA championship game, almost got them the victory over Alabama to win the national championship. Tremaine Edmunds of Virginia Tech, extremely fast linebacker, maybe the most athletic of this group. He's super tall, super fast, plays really well in coverage, and is physical at the point of attack. Those are two guys that we know are going to be off the board. Our top guys on this list could be off the board, but we're putting them on the list just in case, because you never know what happens in this wild NFL. But let's get to this list. We're starting with number six.
Number six.
And coming in at number 6 is Shaquem Griffin out of University of Central Florida. Now, for those of you who don't know, Shaquem Griffin was a huge player for Central Florida and a huge national story because he has one hand due to a birth defect, he had to have his hand removed at a young age. But his father never let them allow him to quit. He forced him, if he wanted to play football, so he pushed him to be the best that he could. Shaquem Griffin's twin brother, Shaquille Griffin, is currently a cornerback for the Seattle Seahawks in the NFL. He was drafted in the 3rd round of the last NFL draft. Both are extreme athletes. And what pops off for Shaquem Griffin is that he ran a 4.38 40-yard dash. That is the best 40 time of any linebacker since like the early 2000s, maybe ever. But because Ryan Shazier, didn't run in the 40 in the combine. For those Steeler fans that are like, wait a second. But just getting into Shaquem Griffin, this guy is an extreme cover linebacker. He may be the best cover linebacker of this group because what UCF did was that they would often put him as an outside linebacker and allow him to go and cover the slot or cover tight ends or cover scat running backs. Nobody was better at him than, when it came to doing that, because he could run with anybody. He also had 20 reps on the bench, which was the 11th best number at the combine amongst linebackers. Extremely strong, and he had to do that with basically one hand because his other hand, they don't give you anything. So he had a brace on his other hand that allowed him to make contact with the bar, but he did that. He did better. Coming in 11th among all linebackers, that's very impressive. There's guys on this list who didn't do that. He had a 117-inch broad jump, good enough for 12th. Thing is that those kind of numbers, they judge explosiveness, boost, and what you're able to do as far as getting from one spot to another. But one thing that's really to notice about Shaquem Griffin, you're thinking, oh wow, why is this guy? If he's so good, why is he so low? He's 6'1", 227, which is an okay size, but the problem is that when taking on blockers, UCF kind of kept him away from having to do that for the most part. When it came to their game plan, they would make him kind of stay out wide, and when he rarely saw this guy be at the point of attack for a system. And the thing is that he traditionally played outside linebacker for UCF, but he would be more of a sub-package guy in the NFL, or like that extra inside linebacker guy that you would ask to cover a running back, a tight end, or play over the middle in a zone. If he gets selected, expect him to get selected in the later rounds. 4th at the earliest, I think. Some person might reach to get him in the 3rd, but just with the situation with his hand, it doesn't slow him down, but it does make you wonder: can he take on NFL blockers consistently and shed them? And that's one thing that you didn't see him have to do as much at UCF because they kept him out of that position. So, going to be wondering what can Shaquem Griffin bring, but that's why we have him down at number 6. Definitely don't underestimate this guy. He could make waves in the NFL. Definitely will be a special teams ace in his early years if he's not a starter.
Number 5.
Coming in at number 5, we have Malik Jefferson out of Texas. Malik Jefferson, a guy that some people would rank really high, and some people even have. I saw a recent mock on NFL.com that had him going to the Steelers in the 1st round. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think this guy's going to get picked in the 2nd round. He's an extreme athlete. He's 6'3", 236 pounds, prototype build for the inside linebacker. He had the 3rd best 40-yard dash of all linebackers with a 4.52, really good speed. Had 27 reps on the bench. That's the 2nd best of his class. 125-inch broad jump. That's the 4th best of his class. Then that's just the thing. This guy, he can run sideline to sideline. He's a great athlete. He has the perfect size to hit in the hole. But the problem is this guy doesn't have the instincts yet you want of a starting inside linebacker. He looks lost a lot of times on film. Doesn't get to the right hole, often takes a lot longer to diagnose plays, doesn't know how to really shed blockers yet. When he sees the ball carrier or when he sees what's going on, when he gets into chase mode, then you're in trouble because he cannot. He is a guy that rarely is beat when he sees where he's supposed to go. He gets to the spot when he sees it there. But the problem is when you have a guy in the inside like that and you want to take a guy in those earlier picks, you want a person that's going to be able to process and be that sort of captain in the middle of the defense. I mean, if you're thinking of anyone to compare him to, think of like Bud Dupree as an inside linebacker. Bud Dupree has all the measurables, blew up the combine, looked great, but he lacked instincts at Kentucky, and that's what's hurt him the most in the NFL. He hasn't developed really consistent pass rush moves. He hasn't developed instincts that you want to see out of a natural outside 3-4 pass rushing linebacker, and that's what you're going to see out of Malik Jefferson as an inside linebacker. You're going to see a guy that needs to develop better instincts on how to take on blockers, when to attack at the right time, how to engage in certain situations. But to give him credit, he's a heck of an athlete. That's why we have him listed here at number 5. If he's picked, expect him to go in the late second to mid to late third. And that's if someone's really liking his combine work, because he did show out at the combine, and that has in the past boosted players up. But if the Steelers get him in the third, consider that a decent pick, and he'll be thrust into the rotation. Definitely will be ahead, I think, of Tyler Matakevich and of L.J. Fort, but he'll be the backup behind Bostic and Vince Williams for sure. Just got to see, if you take it, you're risking, can he develop those instincts? That's going to be where people wonder. But this next guy on our list doesn't have any problem with instincts.
Number 4.
And that guy is number 4, Josey Jewell, 6'1", 234 pounds, out of Iowa. He was a huge player in the Big Ten. Josey Jewell is a guy that processes defenses, processes offenses, diagnoses, and he's the center, he's the captain, and he plays extremely physical and can stop the run. Really good gap discipline. He can cover tight ends, and what you really like to see out of this guy is he has a comfortable drop back. When he's in his zone and he's covering in the middle of the field, he can get real comfortable in his drop back and explode quickly. The one thing, though, is that he's slow. He ran a 4.82 40-yard dash. That's around the time of what Tyler Matakevich run, and which is really a reason why Tyler Matakevich isn't as effective in the NFL, is because he's slow off the ball. But when it comes to the other stats, Josey Jewell had the second best 3-cone time. Now, for those who don't know, 3-cone is about change of direction in short spaces, and that's what you need sometimes out of a linebacker that covers in the middle of the field. He ran a 6.8 3-cone time. That was extremely impressive. He also had the best 60-yard shuttle time. That's about the same idea as changing directions, but your running distances. I think you run 10, then 20, then 30 distances, running back and forth. And stopping and turning at different points, but that's the point of those drills, and that's what Josey Jewell's really good at. When he's stopping and changing directions, he's quick to make those changes. But his full speed, when he gets into full stride, he's not going to be able to keep up with the faster guys. If you're looking for tape on this guy, you want to look. You want to definitely keep an eye on his Penn State tape. Yes, Saquon Barkley does this to everybody, but you can see the athletic difference between a guy that can run like Barkley and how he can get away from Jewell. In the NFL, that may be his biggest problem, is adjusting to players that are faster and can make those moves in space. Also, he still isn't consistent about how he gets off blockers. You saw Anthony Gesicki, Penn State's tight end, really handle him. Gesicki's he's known for being a poor blocker, and that's what Josey Jewell, he's good at knowing where he's supposed to be, and he can get there, but he engages, when he takes on a blocker, he engages with his shoulder too much. He doesn't engage with his hands and shed them consistently enough. But Josey Jewell, still, those instincts are there. He knows where to be. He knows how to get there. And that's what you often want to see out of an inside linebacker. That's why we have him listed as the 4th option. Expect him to go in the 3rd round, I would say, the early 3rd round maybe. So if he's sitting around there, it's going to be an interesting pick if the Steelers didn't get a linebacker in the 1st round. Do they reach for him in the 2nd? I don't think that they would. I think they would go for a guy that they see as a top 40 pick that's still around. If he's around in the 3rd, that might be the guy. But keep an eye on Josey Jewell from Iowa.
Number 3.
Number 3 is Darius Leonard out of South Carolina State. Darius Leonard is a different kind of prospect because we don't have a lot of tape on him because he played for South Carolina State. Those who don't know, South Carolina State is a small HBCU. Small compared to other D1 schools, but as an HBCU, it's pretty standard. But he played. That's the same school that came from that Javon Hargrave come. He's the one guy we haven't done here on Carter's Classroom. Again, Carter's Classroom. If you haven't been keeping up with us, we've had draft profiles on most of these guys: Josie Jewell, Shaquem Griffin. We'll have one on Malik Jefferson, but our top 2 guys who we'll get to, we've also already done. Darius Leonard is a guy we're still working on because we're trying to get the best film to show you his talents. But to get to his talents, he's a guy that flies all over the field, and that's what you want to see. He didn't do much at the combine, only did the 40-yard dash where he was a 4.7 time. Not the best, not super fast, but he plays fast. He had a 17 reps on the bench, which also, again, wasn't the best, but he's 6'2", 234 pounds, a nice size for a linebacker. And when you saw him at South Carolina State, he wasn't afraid to flow from person to person. He could be aggressive at times, though he needed to be more consistently aggressive when attacking people at the point of attack. But he has great gap integrity. He knows where he's supposed to be, and he's not fazed by being blocked. He will find ways to mitigate being blocked and to stay to his assignment, eventually shed those blockers, and get to the point of attack and bring down the ball carrier in space. The one thing is that you really want to see, though, out of Darius Leonard, you need to see him improve his coverage instincts, especially in man coverage. He looks out of place. He doesn't look comfortable doing it, and that's something that you're going to need. Something that Ryan Shazier filled for the Steelers is that he could cover a tight end or a running back in space and just cling to him and take him out of the picture. Darius Leonard, if you're asking him to be that guy, he's going to struggle, and that's where you start to worry. But still, great athlete, really good at stopping the run. We have him listed at 3rd because we think that he would be a top athlete at the position as far as moving sideline to sideline, attacking people at the point of attack. Still just has a few things to work out, but I think his instincts are a lot better than that of a Malik Jefferson, and are good enough to compare him to Josie Jewell, and with his athleticism, I think get him ahead of Josie Jewell, which is why I have him listed at 3rd.
Number 2.
And our second prospect, and if you've been paying attention really close to Carter's Classroom, you'll know this is kind of a flip, but we're going with Alabama's starting inside linebacker, Rashaan Evans, 6'3", 234 pounds, big guy. He's a prototype and inside linebacker. Coming into the winter/spring of preparing for the NFL draft, I had Rashaan Evans as the top guy for the Steelers to pick as far as inside linebackers that could be available. Again, that's a big could be available. The trade that the Patriots made when they gave Brandon Cooks to the Rams, they bumped up to the 23rd pick. They were also at Alabama's pro day watching Rashaan Evans, just like Mike Tomlin was. And I think that they're going to be the ones that snatch this guy up. He's a great talent. He didn't excel at the combine, and that may be what drops him lower. He had a 30. He didn't run his 40 because he's been struggling from groin and hamstring injuries. He had a 30-inch vertical jump, which was not really a lot of things weren't at the top of the class. 116-inch broad jump, 6.95 second three cone. None of those were registered among the top 15 of his class. Where he did show up was his 20-yard shuttle, which, again, change of direction and moving in space. He came 12th in that. So, again, not at the very top of the class or even among the, but enough to get registered with the upper guys. But here's the thing about that: get rid of all those, because also he's currently dealing with injuries, and that's a tough thing to deal with in this time where he has to keep training really hard to be the best, and at the same time not give his body enough time to heal. But he's the prototype inside linebacker, and we say that because when he attacks, he is of the most physical. He's probably the most explosive of this group. When I see how violent he attacks blockers and ball carriers, he'll explode into you with his shoulder. He'll use his hands to push you back, and I've seen him attack, again, SEC caliber linemen and blow them up at the point of attack. That's the best you can get in NCAA is our consistently playing SEC linemen. Because if you want to see difference, go back and look at that Georgia versus Oklahoma playoff game in the NCAA playoffs, and you'll see Georgia's offensive line just mauling Oklahoma's defensive line, and those are the kind of players that Rashaan Evans consistently went up against and consistently won. Again, he was a national champion this past year. He diagnoses plays extremely fast, and when he does, he's quick to react. He has a really good burst to get when he sees a seam, he takes it and he takes down the ball carrier Gotta love that about him. Again, very physical. He drops back comfortably, and he knows how to play within a defense. Not the best cover man you're going to see in this draft class, but he's going to be a guy that can be comfortable between doing both. Also, really good at rushing the passer when asked to do so in sub packages. Alabama would put him on the edge and let him be an edge rusher. He uses moves. He's very comfortable with a spin move, a rip move, or a swim move to get around offensive tackles. Now, whether he can do that at the NFL level still remains to be seen, of course. But you have to be impressed with the way that Rashaan Evans plays. I think that if teams think that his combine performance and his lack of performing at his pro day if they take that as an indication that this guy isn't going to be good enough to be worth of a first-round pick, it's going to be a steal for the Steelers. But I think that the Patriots are on to this, just like the Steelers probably are, that those numbers don't indicate how much of an athlete Rashaan Evans is and how good he's going to be in the NFL. I think this guy is going to be a star. If he gets picked by the Patriots, expect him to start immediately next to Dante Hightower, and for that to be an inside linebacker duo that causes problems.
Miller Lite is the original light beer, and we'll always brew it to have more taste, with only 96 calories and 3.2 carbs. Because we believe that if you compromise on taste, you can taste the compromise. Miller Lite. Hold true.
Great beer, great responsibility. 2018 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Average analysis, 12 fluid ounces. Less than 1 gram protein, 0 grams fat.
If you're one of the thousands of Western Pennsylvanians who love to get outdoors, then you need to check out this cool new website, stepoutside.org. Learn where, when, and how you can go camping, hiking, or hunting, or take part in power sports, shooting sports, or water sports in your local community or across the country at stepoutside.org, where everything you need to know is just a click away. That's stepoutside.org.
What I want from my public accounting firm is big ideas.
But I don't want to lose the personal attention.
My company needs global capabilities.
From a firm with local ownership.
And I want to work with industry experts.
Who take the time to understand my unique challenges. And that's what sets Schneider Downs apart. Expertise for the most complex business issues. With the service you need every day. To learn how our big thinking with a personal focus can help your company, visit schneiderdowns.com.
Injured in an accident? Need assistance in preserving your business's interests? Let the attorneys at Bassey, Vreeland & Associates protect your legal rights. For over 65 years, Bassey, Vreeland & Associates has been representing the citizens and businesses of southwestern Pennsylvania. With offices strategically located in Washington and Charleroi, Bassey, Vreeland & Associates can deliver results for you throughout the Pittsburgh area. Visit www.bmvlaw.com or call 724-228-7000 to see how Bassey, Vreeland & Associates can meet your legal needs. Bassey, Vreeland & Associates. We fight, we care, we win.
All right, before we reveal our top pick, we're going to recap our picks. At number 6, we had Shaquem Griffin out of University of Central Florida, the fast cover linebacker with one hand. We had number 5, Malik Jefferson out of Texas, the really good athlete, but lacking of natural inside linebacker instincts type of player. At number 4, we had Josie Jewell out of Iowa, the slower but really smart and really adept type of player that can play physical at the point of attack. Number 3, we had South Carolina State's Darius Leonard, really good athlete, flies all over the field, active, and can get into it, but needs to develop better instincts overall. Number 2, we had Alabama's Rashaan Evans, possibly the 1B of this class. I struggle to say that he's not as good as the guy that we're about to say is the number 1 guy, but very good overall, and definitely will be a starter and possibly even a star in the NFL in his rookie year. Honorable mention, we're going to mention Oren Burks, another guy that we covered here on Carter's Classroom. He's a cover linebacker out of Vanderbilt, played corner, then played safety, then dropped down to linebacker. Not the reason we didn't include him because he's probably the worst amongst the candidates that are going to be considered for picks in this draft at engaging blockers at the point of attack. Not that good against the run. You can read more on Carter's Classroom. We've covered him from Vanderbilt, but he's a safety that covers extremely well in space. That's why we're listing him as an honorable mention on this list, but he doesn't make the cut because he needs to develop those instincts and really bulk up a little bit to be better at taking on blocks. But without further ado, we go to our top pick.
Number 1.
And coming in at number 1, Leighton Vander Esch out of Boise State. Originally, we had him as our number 2 guy for the Steelers to take, but just the more and more that I've settled in watching the tape on this guy and comparing him to Rashaan Evans, I give him a slight edge because he was so clutch for Boise State. Now, the one thing that I will give Rashaan Evans over Leighton Vander Esch is that Rashaan Evans played SEC caliber football 24/7, and in doing so, that experience probably is going to pay off in the NFL. But similar to how I saw Ryan Shazier and C.J. Mosley back in the 2014 NFL draft, I think that Leighton Vander Esch has a chance to be better than Rashaan Evans because of his build. He's 6'4", 256, ran a 4.65 40-yard dash. That was the 14th best, which isn't electric, but where he did excel in is his explosiveness. He has a 39.5-inch vertical jump, which is the second best. He had a 6.88 second 3-cone time. That was the 5th best of all linebackers. A 4.15 20-yard shuttle, which is the second best. He also had the second best 60-yard shuttle, which was 11.57 seconds. Now, this is a guy that was explosive. He could move sideline to sideline, and he could change directions very quickly. Also, was very smooth in his drop back and turning and running with tight ends and receivers over the middle. He was also an extremely clutch player for Boise State. Time and time again, when I looked at this guy's tape, if it was late in the game, this guy was going to make a play for them. He had an interception that closed out a game. He forced a fumble in overtime that gave Boise State a win. I think he had another interception that closed out a game. This guy can consistently find ways to make plays. He doesn't give up on plays. He's a tough guy, and he's a really good athlete. The one thing that works against him is he still has to improve his fundamentals as far as taking on blockers. Now, as far as fundamentals, his pad level, this guy's 6'4". That's really tall. At any point in professional football, but as a linebacker, sometimes when you're that height, you struggle to get under guys. This guy will work to get his pad level below you as a ball carrier and as a blocker, and he'll try to drive through you and use his explosiveness to win those battles. But where that comes to bite him is that he tries to do that against blockers sometimes and leads with his shoulder. And with blockers, you need to learn how to fight with your hands to keep the distance, engage them so that you can disengage with them faster. And that's what he doesn't do well enough. And often he got swallowed up. You saw that against Wyoming a little bit if you want to go back and look at some tape to see that. But he'll get swallowed up by blockers, and in the NFL, that can really get to be a problem when the size advantage that he had in college doesn't sometimes translate because you're going to have guys that are also better than that, or bigger than that, excuse me. Like, when you go up against someone like Alejandro Villanueva, who's 6'9", that size advantage that he had is going to diminish, and that's where you need to learn how to use your arms so you don't get engulfed by huge blockers like that. So things like that, Leighton Vander Esch could learn, but he only played as a starter for Boise State for one whole season. This guy has the potential to learn quickly, and when I see he processes defense as well, or offense as well, he learns how to he's learned how to be good in gap integrity. I don't think his gap integrity is nearly as good as Rashaan Evans yet, but again, he's young at being a starter. He still has a good bit to learn, and I think he'll be a quick learner. He's definitely going to be a first-round pick in my eyes. I'm not sure if he gets picked because the way I looked at it, I was grading out teams and where they could pick. I had about 8 teams ahead of the Steelers that needed inside linebackers. Now, there's plenty of those teams that need receivers and need quarterbacks and need cornerbacks and need offensive linemen and need running backs, and those teams can go in different directions. But I doubt Leighton Vander Esch, the more I look at it, is going to drop down. It's just a question of which positions fly off the board first. But we do have him as the top guy. If he's there, and if all these guys are there, I think the Steelers should go with Leighton Vander Esch. So there you have it. That was the Carter 6-pack, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for listening. If you want to see these guys, we have Carter's Classroom. We've done in-depth film study on most of these guys, all but Darius Leonard, really. And Malik Jefferson's on the way. We're just working through and covering multiple positions here as we get you ready for the upcoming NFL Draft, which starts on Thursday, April 26th. That's going to be a big day. Dale Lally will be on site. He's always covering it. Dale Lolly's got mock drafts. I'll have some mock drafts coming up soon. I'm the in-depth guy. I got to cover guys and put them under a microscope and churn them out for you guys so you can see the film and the tape. If you disagree with me, hit me up at Carter Critiques on Twitter. This is the Carter 6-pack. This is just a list that we do as a podcast here, but there'll be a lot more content on DKPittsburghSports.com, giving you information, letting you analyze the film for yourself, You can talk in the comment section with other readers and subscribers on DK Pittsburgh Sports. You can also talk to me because I listen to and respond to people who have questions about the film that I'm processing. And I'm always processing film. I'm always looking over more guys right now. I got another project. We just did Ronnie Harrison, the safety from Alabama, who could fall to the later part of the first round and maybe be a target for the Steelers based on who's available. But like I said, it's all on DKPittsburghSports.com, all in Carter's Classroom. We got it going on. Dale Lally, our NFL beat writer, is covering the Steelers day in and day out. We're going to be getting you ready for the NFL draft. But also, if you're a fan of other Pittsburgh sports, the Penguins are in the playoff, and Chris Bradford is going to be there as they take on the Philadelphia Flyers in the first round and following them throughout the playoffs. Pirates season also getting up. Lance Lysowski getting you ready for that. We have a lot of great content here at DKPittsburghSports.com. Stay tuned to our podcast for more information as we got the Steelers show, the Pitch show, all that stuff coming up soon. Again, this is Chris Carter, NFL analyst, signing off.